This is a short tutorial on LibreOffice 4 on how to insert headers and footers. Headers and footers, you have to understand, are basically a separate part of your document, different from the main editing window here. They're very useful for putting in text that either is distinct from the rest, like a header throughout the entire document, or maybe page numbers, something along those lines. And it can actually get a little bit complicated. I'm going to show you very basic and then add a little additional information on how these can be used. So the simplest way to do this is to go up to Insert, and we're going to go down to Header. I'm going to put in a header first, but you can do the same with a footer. And you'll note, and this is the part that gets complicated, but right here it just says Default Style. There's a reason why it's doing that, and I'll explain it in just a minute, but for now we're just going to add the default style header. So what you see here, we now have a header, and you can actually change right over here. You can change the height of that, you can change the width. It basically functions kind of like a separate table built right into a document. But the nice thing about a header is whatever you put in here is basically going to exist on every single page in your document, depending on the complication, which I mentioned, which is this default style. So let's say we wanted to put in a heading. So this is just our lorem ipsum heading, right? If we put that in, the header, that's actually going to show up on every single page that is also this default style page, which I'll explain in a minute. So if I just went down and jumped down to this, you'll see as soon as I add a new page, there's my heading in my header, right? You can also add something like page numbers. So if you wanted a page number in here, which I'm going to show more in a different tutorial, this would be a field, and you could actually just add page number, and you can see that it automatically is put in as 2. So that automatically shows up on this first page as well. Here's my header, and there's my page number. So that's pretty easy. You can do the same thing with footers, right? So if I wanted to add a footer, go to Insert, Footer, Default Style, and you can see that it dropped it in down here. We can do something similar. So this is lorem ipsum footer. And you can add a page count, something else in there if you wanted, right? So this is my page count. There are 2 pages. You can do all sorts of interesting things there, but you see that the footer shows up on every single page. So we've got header, footer now on every page. All right, so that's the really basic style to doing this, or the very basic, easy way to do this. If you want to get more complicated, let me see if I can explain somewhat succinctly what that default style means. LibreOffice has built in this really nice feature which most people are unaware of called page styles. You can assign a different style to each page of your document, and as a result that allows you to change the formatting automatically. Well, what do I mean by that? If you go up to Format and down to Page, you'll see that you get this window here with a whole bunch of different information on it, and it gets it's very robust, which is nice. But right now you can see that the page is styled as default style, but you can actually change that, and you've got a whole bunch of drop-down options that you can do, and you can even customize this if you wanted. But I'm going to show you just really quick. One thing that you could do is say, if you wanted this to be the very first page of your document, and that you want that page to be styled and formatted differently, instead of calling this the default style, you could change it to the first page style. If you do that, then you can actually add different headers and footers based on that particular style. That's why right now the header or footer is called the default style, because that's the default for every page that is assigned the default page style. So as I mentioned, you have different styles that you can apply to the page, and that will actually change your options for the different headers and footers. So right now our header style is default style, but you can change that to different ones, either by clicking here or by changing what style is applied to this page. So I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this. You can either go Format, Styles, and Formatting, or just hit F11. Right, so I'm just going to hit F11, and you'll see it go away and come back. And typically this is set to styles and formatting for text. I'm going to move over here to page styles. And what you'll see, since I'm on this page, this is the first page, I'm just going to double click first page, and it's going to set this page suddenly to a different page style, which is going to change the formatting. So you'll see my header disappeared because I don't have, this is no longer a default style page. And we said when we inserted the header and the footer that we only wanted the default style, which meant we wanted it on the default pages. So if I go down, you'll see that the second page in the document is still set at the default style. So this change down here, this is telling you what style the page is. This is the default style, and that's why the header and the footer are actually in there. But now that I change this to the first page style, my header's gone. So if I click back in here, you can see this switches to first page. And if I wanted to add a different header for the first page, I can do that now by going up to Insert, down to Header, and you'll see that I've got an additional option. That header now is only going to apply to those pages which are marked first page. So I just inserted a new header, and whatever I put in here is only going to be applied to first page ones. You'll see part of the reason why this makes sense. If you were, say, formatting a book, which this may not be the best place to do it in this particular software, but if you were formatting a book, often if you're reading a book, you'll see that left pages have a different header than right pages. And this is one of the features that's built into LibreOffice, is you can actually put in, say, every other page you want to be formatted as a left page, and then obviously the others would be right pages. Then you could put in some sort of header here, maybe it's the author, right? And that would go on this page, or maybe it's the title of the book. Whichever one you want to put in, but you can alternate those based on whatever page styles you put in. And that's the precise reason why you have these different options when you go up to Insert Header or Footer. See how that works. So that's just a little bit more information and kind of depth as to why you can have different styles of headers and footers. Really, they're headers or footers for the different styles of pages, not the headers and footers so much. But that's the very kind of complicated version of inserting headers or footers in LibreOffice Writer 4.0.